good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are listening to this presentation from any part of the world. I'm Dr. Meena Chintapalli, who has been working on preventing the, the impact of trauma on child's brain since 1979. And as the research evolved, put a lot of research together by viewing the presentations done in silos by different researchers, and developed multi-sensory integration program since 1990 that had an unflinching success with extreme low birth weight infants and reversing the autism spectrum disorder and ADHD. The kids walked out from my offices by 12th grade without any medication, with self-reliance. As I saw it, it was all related to family values, family virtues, relationships, and self-rejection of the child. Everything was brought into one place when we knew the neuroplasticity, and everything made sense to Dr. Meena Chintapalli, who then was conferred the Sai Institute of Educare, Swami designating her as the institute to bring about human transformation. Saying the same, the Sai Institute of Educare-USA has dedicated itself for human transformation that started from conception, pregnancy, till the first 3 to 5 years of life, when there are optimal windows of opportunity are there to connect with the world in a positive way and thrive rather than survive and be vulnerable. So the previous presentation was focused upon why neuroplasticity and its application in modifying the child's behavior and learning capabilities. We are not only taking care of the children from the time they are born, but we are also creating pathways for education, because the broader the band, the faster is the transmission. If brain is a digital analog, all the senses are a software. The child hears, sees, gives an emotional tag, either integrates the senses or disintegrates the senses or segregates the senses, is all based upon the experience. It is never through electronics. It is through interrelational bonding and building epistemic trust on the caregiver. Infants, we also discussed, are born with the implicit learning capabilities that they know what others are thinking intuitively. They're curious, they're explorers, they're born scientists, actually, and they have persistence and curiosity, and they are social beings at the time of birth. And something happens over a course of time that they kind of decide to withdraw from the society. And we have a bundle of research, thousands of papers on newborn behaviors that are very sensitive to their experiences, and that determines whether they are going to be learners or want to withdraw. To nowadays, with the video gaming, 14 neuro psychiatric conditions have been described, from losing memory, motivation, inattention, to even explosive temper, manic depression, suicidal, homicidal tendencies, as well as schizophrenia and seizures. So currently, we discussed at that time that the domains of human development is not only gross motor, fine motor, coordination skills, which are essential for all developmental skills, because without motor development, the child will fall backwards in accomplishing things. Most critical domain of development is social emotional learning, that has 6 subdomains, and the first of those 6 domains being how the child connects with the world. What is the role of the educator or the parent being the first educator? That's the first school. A mother's lap is the first school, or the parent's lap is the first school. And various disturbances that can be a barrier for optimal brain development in a child that offers also care as well as the education through safe, secure, nurturing best practices. So, as we reflect, the first of the social emotional learning, which is very, very important for all the other learnings, which are the domains which are intertwined together, is building warm, positive relationships. And theory of mind comes up once again about the implicit learning capabilities, about the curiosity, memory, intuition, social frame of mind. They're born explorers and to develop a concept development, but they totally depend upon the adult caregiver to buffer their emotions and connectivity. Again and again, it is never the electronics, it is never the computer, it is never the phone, smartphones, or the tablet. It is the individual reaction of the adult caregiver competencies that can support and extract the genius from every child. Every child is born with the same number of 100 billion cells floating in the brain that connects one with each other and forms the brain networks, and 150% of this connectivity is happening in the first 12 months of life, and then based upon the experiences, the pathways develop to the target centers. And these are the pathways that are missing in ADHDs and autism spectrum disorders. That means the damage is happening from the point of conception to the time of the child's third birthday or the fifth birthday. So one has to understand the implicit learning capabilities and how to foster the strengths of the child and work on the weaknesses, how to establish warm relationships by practically applicable skills, strategies, positive nurture during the first 1,000 days, and learn to handle the infants and toddlers who come from different cultural background, inequities, diversity, and how to integrate them into the mainstream of early education child care. There are vulnerable families, majority of them are. There are parents who are about 50% who have mental health care needs. They are raising children not knowing what they are doing because they do the parenting based upon their learned experiences. There are economic needs, missed opportunities, special care needs children, and different abilities. How do we include them in building the positive relationships, particularly in Russia and India? It's a linguistic country where every state has a different language and different culture. And how we unify the teachings through the stakeholders or the workforce solutions. And then the second of the social emotional learning capabilities is responsive caregiving, back and forth, serve and return, care of the infant, where the identity of the infant and toddler's needs for consistent responsive interactions and care are important. So there is an epistemic trust built by the infant over the caregiver, and identify adults' behaviors towards the responsive care and interactions. Identify the child's behaviors and identify the adult's responses and behaviors in correcting those, and we could innocently be doing mistakes that can make a child withdraw and not blossom to their fullest extent. Expand the skills and strategies for consistent responsive care for every child so no child is left behind. Having said that, continuing the topic, the interactions are critical, and the focus is directed towards the competencies of the infants and the competencies of the adults. And the focus on the children is very, very important, understanding the developmental milestones. And it's not only physical development, but it is the whole development, whole child. And focus on the educators and parents being the first educators, and the educators being the parent substitutes in a nursery school or early Head Start programs or anything. These are the adults who will literally create the architecture of the brain, which is only 333 grams. That is about 70% of the adult weight by 2 years of age, when all the pathways have already laid, the primary foundational pathways are laid down. And they are all the strategies woven into the routine care of the infant, and including in this care the lens of diversity and fairness to articulated in Irving Harris's Foundation's diversity informed infant mental health tenets, which are about 10 of them, and supporting the similar growth as the affluent children for the vulnerable population, and the relationships for the for all can be unified. So the first of the subdomains is building warm, positive relationships, and the most important thing is in all of these is to develop the child, the individuality, the self-confidence, self-reliance, self-image, and ability to regulate their emotions. And they start with the caregiver being the regulator of the child's emotions. And social emotional learning, causes the adaptation for the infant to pay attention and thrive, or withdraw or become angry or hyperarousal with the vulnerability of not feeling secure in their environment. The team working together selflessly is important. Sai Baba always said the self-confidence is the strong foundation for a child's life. Selflessness in the family with no pride of one controlling the other are the walls of that building for the future of every child for the lifetime. And then self-sacrifice. Sometimes, we have to subdue. Sometimes the children have to subdue. And respecting, mutually understanding everybody is the roof. And realizing the highest purpose of human life is to feed themselves, get a meaningful education, feed the family, and feed the community and support the community is the self-realization that they have the inherent capacities that should come out. Therefore, everybody needs to think for themselves for a moment when they're communicating with the others. What are they exploring in their communication? Is the other person understanding what they are talking about, or do I understand the other person? What skills and abilities do I want to give or pick up? When you were listening, were you able to comprehend everything that the teacher is trying to communicate or the educator is trying to communicate? And how you felt personally with the background of your experiences about the lecture that is being given? What are you looking forward to? Are you interactive with the examiner so that you could show your own enthusiasm about various concerns you may have from your own experiences? What are the individual components of building relationships? So I will spend a little bit more time here. We have to show through our face, our body gestures, through the objects we use, the tone of the language we use, and our smile, our gentleness, our soothing effect is a positive vibration. There are some places where you go, you just don't want to be there. You get the negative vibrations. But infant is so totally dependent upon the adult caregivers. They have to see a smiley face, a gentle touch, a gentle smiling, and you have to show that you do care for the infant by going there within 45 seconds is the maximum to when the child is in a distress, and being in sync with the feelings. That, oh, you're upset, oh, you're hungry, oh, your diaper is dirty. And that makes them feel wanted. The theories of Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth on attachment have gone a long way describing when a child does avoidance feelings and ambivalent feelings and disorganization. So, therefore, it is very important our body language, our tone of voice, our smiley face, and our gentle approach is very important. Frequently engage in nonverbal positive affirmation, just by saying, you don't want to say, hey, you're a smart kid, hey, you got it. That will make a child try to not take failures when they are unable to show off and attain a task. So therefore, we just want to gently say, hey, good job, and show a thumbs up or a smiley face, make an eye contact, letting them know that you are noticing what the child is doing, and give a positive affirmation. And nodding and, raising your eyes, hands, and say, I'm noticing you. Use gentle and nurturing touch to provide emotional support and to communicate affection. So a child might fall, a child might cry for a basic need, particularly 2 weeks to 2 months. There could be a distress care. You just make a voice connection when you're walking towards the infant. In 45 seconds, there is a demand and gratification. If you go after the demand, you hold the infant and just comfort the infant. And that is the most important thing. And that touch, that nurturing touch, that gentle touch, and with the relaxed arms, immediately calms the infant down. Otherwise, they go to a point of no return with the stress when they are not attended to. And after a while, they withdraw. That withdrawal does mean that they've learned to adapt to neglect. So we do want to pick them up. We cannot spoil them. And when they cry, make a voice contact. If you're walking towards the infant while you wash your hands, dry your hands and go towards the infant. And they're all ears for that. Use children's names during communication. We always say choo choo choo, kana kana kana, ba 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 ba, and that is not good. The child needs to have a self-identity only if we address them by their name from the beginning, because they make association. You will be surprised that a month old, when you call their name, they will look at you. So we do need to address them the first name that was given to them. And whenever you're noticing the child or a toddler or an infant is sitting there playing around, you notice and say, hey, you did a great job. I'm noticing you, but mommy's hands are not free. I notice you. Otherwise, they look at you and you're not looking at them. There will be a cry. There will be a feeling of neglect. There will be a feeling of rejection. So always be cueing into their activities and give a positive feedback. And they want to see you close by, even if it is an 18-month-old or a 24-month-old or 36-month-old who are playing around. All of a sudden they look for the adult whom they trust, who is their secure base. And so you need to be close to them. And in case there is a distress, in case there is a quarrel, you're right there to fix the problem and show the sympathy and be in sync with their feelings if they're hurt. And we can never stoop down and say, you made a mistake, or you are wrong, or it's going to be okay when they fall. But go down to their level. Sit down or bend down, sit on your knees, make an eye contact, and give your shoulders, give your warmth, give your cuddle. Then immediately the cortisol system will go down and the autonomic nervous system will relax and the infant will stop crying, and then you say, what happened? I know you're hurt. Somebody hurt your feelings, or did you hurt? Can we look at the boo-boo? And can we look at the injury, can we look at the abrasion, can we look if it's bleeding? Should be the way, because the eye contact is missing in majority of the instances. And we try to control them by stooping down and say, I said so, you should have been careful. That will really hurt their feelings. So we have to be very sensitive to the needs of the child. Demonstrate interest in children's activities by joining play or commenting about children's actions when culturally appropriate. There are some cultures, they say, don't really stop them, kind of a thing, but that's very rare. Majority of the time, the children want some notice. Children feel happy when you're reading along with them, you're playing puzzles with them. You're not going to do the puzzle for them, but you can try to guide them, help them. It could be blocks being stacked. It could be rattles that the child is shaking. It could be the toys that the feet are kicking, on a gym mat. Infants need that intimacy, that an adult who cares about me is interested, and that adult is sitting with me and they're watching me, and I could fall back upon them. I'm comfortable. And it has to be a soft tone of voice and a smiling expression, always keeping your cool and calm, which is very difficult when you're in a stressful environment. So your lifetime style management practices and mindful practices, your presence is very important. Support children's attempts at autonomy. Majority of the times, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. There is a psychology book, the first picture they show is the child is saying no, 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 because that's what they heard. So it is off limit. I think we need to think of choice. Did you make a wrong choice? This is the kind of an attitude we should show for the child to be freely walking around or cruising around, explore, and you will notice that there is a particular toy or a particular book. The child goes back and forth again and would look at you. Could you please help me read this? Could you help me play with this one? And so you need to pay notice or attention. And this is very important in the attachments where the child establishes itself with you. The heart and soul of high quality infant toddler care with the education specialist or the parent as an educator is an interpersonal relationship. And experiences do matter. You do matter, because the infants cannot move by themselves, between 2 months to 6 months. Whatever you give them, whatever you make them play with every routine, whether it's a diaper change, sleep time, feeding time, or play time, or just hold me time, or a green space time. The child needs an experience, and the experience means there is a brain pathway. Without a hands-on experience, there is no pathway. Without no interrelationship, there is no pathway. So we are failing to do this because we are two income families. We are going through the rat race, and we depend upon extended family who may be just watching TV and the child is passively watching the television. That leads to lack of formation of networks and the axons. So they have to experience the feelings, they need to manage their emotions, and their management of emotions and distress is from the adult caregiver. Strong positive relationships help children develop trust, empathy, compassion, and a sense of right and wrong from the time they are born. Secure attachment. Babies learn who they are with and how they are treated. And the key milestones include, with up to 12 months, respond to adult cues and signals, joint attention. The mother and father respond to the child's, and the infant responds to the parental cues. Use simple gestures. Seek and develop relationship with one particular adult. express distress and other negative emotions when separated from their primary caregivers, and that distress can be overcome with a compassionate approach to the child. And as the child gets autonomy, this is my body, this is my movement, I'm going to go wherever I want to go, and they recognize their self, they recognize their newfound motility, and they're at risk also of exploring and getting hurt, and so an adult caregiver has to be around, and if they are blocked, they get angry, but there is a way of redirecting the child. So we will, in the next courses, we will focus upon them. And by 24 to 36 months, a whole personality is there. They're strong-willed, they're expressive, they can tell their needs, they can talk about their feelings. But are we raising children to express their feelings? Or are we saying, because I said so, you cannot cry, because I said so, you cannot have the toy? These are the things that needs to be avoided, so that the child knows that there are limits, there are boundaries, that it's okay to ask, but there are emotions that the parents recognize. There will be frustration, tantrums, lying down on the floor, crying. Most of these are seen after the 24th month because they feel helpless. Their regulating brain is not ready, and it is the adult caregiver who has to regulate the emotions of the child. A little clip of the video where one can watch, see how the adult responses are. There is a back and forth interaction. The legs of the child and the arms of the child talks now, and the mother is making an eye contact. A child cries in a distress, feeling lonely and neglected. There is a scream. Somebody responds. So the child stops crying. So nobody is doing anything. Is the child asking for a block or a book? He is getting an exploration time. And here this little infant is responding to the movement of the hand and the song. And there is another child who wanted a response from the adult caregiver. She's getting it. And this is only through love and compassion. What this mother is doing is called joint attention. The child is interacting, and mother was pointing to something, the child is pointing to something, the mother is looking at the child's direction. So when we are raising children, our relationships, everything is like a dance partner, and the dancing can be awkward if we are not in sync with the child's development, and with observation tools, catching the red flags and working on them so that they integrate all the senses. The relationships provide the framework for infant development, the rhythms of close relationships with parents. That's why it is a music and a dance. Caregivers and teachers back and forth, need and response with gentle rhythms, moving to a synchronous beat, support emotional, physical, cognitive, and linguistic development. You can assess for yourself what is happening here. The child is trying to imitate the grandfather. And here is something from Dr. Electronic. Apologize. It is not electronic. It is what the caregiver is able to do. So much of importance, so much of observation. They're keen observers. They're quick learners, and we are not using all their sensory input. And the caregiver helping Lily, get things out. And we have to be always helpful, facilitate, and scaffold whenever they are reaching a certain point. If you look at this bright, brilliant child, he's got a popping pulse, his eyes are working, his eyes are falling, they're brilliant, they're filled with energy, his ears are connecting anything that is unpleasant for the ears. They don't know how to close their ears and run away. They shut down. When they shut down, we're scarring that connection between the right and left brain from the ears each side. Same thing with the eyes, something that is unpleasant. Yara, yara, ya, fights between the parents or between other elders, loud noises, that is enough to suppress a child. Bandura said that violence is witnessed and repeated. And so they are very sensitive to sense, they're very sensitive to taste, they're very sensitive to interaction. So all their senses are very actively working. And look at this soothing lullaby. What a beautiful soothing that the child is getting. And you could see that many children try to hold the chains of the mother, they touch the cheeks of the mother, they want to interact with you. Although they're closing their eyes, their senses are very alert. Talk to them, cuddle with them, give the cheek strokes, and so on. These are the beautiful memories that they integrate the senses to feel that the world around me is so safe and I'm being loved. And with that, they will learn more of the other skills that they have to learn. Otherwise, they suppress them from the time they're born. But even by the third month, the middle brain knows, okay, I just need to fend for myself, kind of a thing. So they learn once, they see twice. By 3 to 5 times, they learn everything, and then they can recall from their experiences. It could be books, it could be toys, it could be gestures, everything. They may not like a person who is talking very loud. So you look at these activities and see how there is a nurturing interaction with every step of the way to enhance the attachment. Relationships are very central to infant toddler program quality, whether it's a family or a center. The dance is used as a metaphor. If there is an awkward relationship, the dance does not look good. And the focus on children is to see that they are eager dance partners and how we train them. Infants use the sensory abilities they have to connect with the world through all the 5 senses dynamically, 3 million connections per second. Children give cues that they want to connect. Educators or the parents must notice, interpret, and respond appropriately. If we are focusing upon the adult caregivers, they need to understand children are born with the learning capabilities, and they have so many of them, and their interactions outside the womb to build the mental models, thematic representations. Educators invite the children into positive interactions. They are in sync with the emotions and the needs and interests of the child. And the temperament is paced, and a button to pause is by a caregiver who has their own self-control and self-regulation. So they are the adult regulators for the child who can learn self-regulation, who is capable of being taught through the educator as an external support, that they can regulate their emotions, and it's okay to have emotions. There is importance of non-verbal body language communication through gestures, facial gestures, and body language. And relationships are enhanced, and it seems to be a most powerful tool. And they're in children with the different abilities, they're more vulnerable, and they're more emotionally vulnerable to reject on themselves and cry a lot. So they need extra support. Impact of inconsistent parenting leads to ambivalence, avoidance, and neglectful parenting to complete disorganization of motor movements to social emotional learning to linguistic abilities or disabilities. So, for a child to have positive attitudes and respect towards a parent who are going to give instructions in the future, it starts at zero stage of early child development. So this is the expansion of what we talk, conveying warmth and affection towards children by smiling, laughing, also showing empathy when a child is sad or distressed. That fosters in them that somebody cares, and when I'm distressed, my adult caregiver is my support for me. This is most powerful thing is non-verbal communication of gestures, appraisal of what they are doing, so the child feels somebody is involved with my activities. I'm not alone. I have a caregiver who is supporting me. And the touch goes a long way, whether it is between spouses, whether between the mother and the child. The moment the touch is there, a gentle touch, not a harsh touch, the child's oxytocin levels go up, and that suppresses the negative impact of the cortisol and epinephrine. Then that itself relaxes them. That gives the belongingness, that builds a trust that they are wanted. If we do the children's first name that we give, we are respecting them. We are acknowledging them as a powerful entity within the family or an individual in the family, and greater sense of belongingness is there. And making positive comments makes a child feel, hey, somebody's noticing what I'm doing, I'm not neglected, and they are interested, and I have a value in this system, in this family. And as the children grow older, their movement increases, their emotional regulation is poor, so they can get into quarrels, or they can get hurt. Their motor coordination is poor, then their brain is thinking faster, they can get hurt. A parent or an educator sitting in close proximity to the child does make a wonderful difference, because that gives them a sense of security, and it is the basis for nurturing relationships. Eye contact. You see the soul of a person or an animal through the eyes. Eyes are brilliantly lit and happy. Eyes are really droopy or not avoiding contact when they're sad. Looking directly into a person's eyes is a sign of respect, a sign of connection, a sign of being in sync with their feelings and acknowledging their emotions, and it is an attention given to them. If you join and say, hey, do you want me to play with you? Or upon invitation by the child, particularly if the infant, it is always, sensory play between 2 months to 6 months. The child cannot move so much, but it is always the adult caregiver who gives enthusiasm for the infant to interact and play. So when caregivers engage in a child's play, it signals to the child that their actions are appropriate, their play is good, that they are safe, and they are a worth individual within the family. And these shared interests, shared experiences go a long way in the future behavior and self-confidence of a child. And tone of voice, always harsh voices are tuned out by the children, and whatever we want to communicate, how we say it matters than what we say. Support children's attempts, the autonomy and the ability to move and the ability to explore gives a concept development and gives autonomy to the child. They are more interested in their environment and their growth. They're very clean observers from the time they are born, and they judge your lips, they judge your smile, they judge your movement, they judge your intention, whether you're intentionally connecting or you're just doing it as a duty. So that those invites are very, very important. And most of the times you might think, what if the child is sleeping most of the time, 20 hours in the first few weeks of life to a month, and then it gradually goes down to cat naps and 8 hours of sleep. But the quality time you spend when the child is awake, whether it is 3 minutes of tummy times, 6 minutes, 6 times a day, or whether you're joint reading with a book for 5 minutes, that's what matters. So, when educators become more observant and intentional about the quality, frequency, and individual tailoring of warm, positive, nurturing interactions with each and every child, they can be more confident that they are laying a strong, healthy foundation for optimal child development. Explore your opportunities now that you have heard, and you could pass this information around for public awareness project. Building warm, positive relationships from the time the child is born is very, very important, and